here with author and inventor Brenda Schweder, and Brenda, you have a great idea for a scrappy soldered necklace. What a great way to use up some leftover wire bits.
Thanks.
Yeah, this
and
is
we're,
pretty.
We're working in steel, which is my wire of choice, and it's all 16 gauge, Katie, which is called rebar tie wire in the construction industry.
So this is a hardware store item here.
It is. You can get a 3.5 pound coil of it for like $5.
Cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought we would get started right away. What we're doing is we're using the jig to form the links. And what I've done is I've used the 1-inch oval, square, and triangle. Okay, and then we also just want to let you know that we have other shapes and stuff if you wanted to use a different shape as we go. What I'm using here is I'm going around and I'm going to make this oval shape. All right. And I'm just making sure that I'm nice and tight against all the sides of that particular peg. Sometimes I use a swivel lock, but in this particular point, I know that the oval is really pretty easy to get around, so I'm just gonna use my hands.
So you just give it a lot of leverage there.
Yes, exactly. And then I'm just marking where they meet right here, because I know that when I lift it off again, I'm going to possibly lose that. I'm gonna take and I'm going to use my cutters. Nice heavy-duty cutter because we are working with 16 gauge wire, and it's great that we use these like memory wire cutters that are good enough, strong enough for steel, but they're all a double flush cutter, so that helps us in the long run. One of the things about soldering is that we want that joint to be perfectly parallel to each other. Solder doesn't want to fill gaps; it wants to marry things. So we have to make sure that we use an equaling file, which is equal and parallel on both sides. So that helps us again. And you can see that I'm just using that. Air filing, which is such a no-no, but we're gonna do it right here.
We break all the rules here.
We do. We're rogue jewelers, Katie. And we're going to equal that up. So we had the pliers, the cutter do a good job for us.
And then you just make it really smooth.
Really smooth, right. And one of the ways that we can do that, also help that, is we're going to go kind of like back and forth here, and that's just creating kind of a tension. And we want to make sure that this is also on the same plane, that it's all coming together just as it would in a link, finished link. So you can see I'm just kind of putzing and putzing here. And one of the reasons we can also do this necklace cold connected, but as we start getting bigger, you think about connecting the ends of a hula hoop, if you would sort of divide that, and you can think about how hard it would be to get those ends to meet again. Okay, great. So soldering, I like to use a little bit of a lazy Susan here, that way I'm all set. But in order for the solder to flow, we need to put some flux. If we don't have the flux here, the solder is just going to dance around and make a ball, and it's not going to connect our metal to each other. So I'm kind of a big fluxer.
So you can just brush it on.
Mm-hmm. This particular one has a brush right in the cap. Okay? And then that also helps me. I'm going to take my tweezer. And I'm a scrappy solderer, so I don't mind having a lot of solder. I don't mind having that sort of punctuate my work. It's kind of a style that I have. And I'm just kind of putting that down there in almost like a lean-to position. And we're going to use both of those. So this would be considered a huge chunk of solder to a lot of other jewelers, but not me.
But it goes along with your organic style, too.
I am pretty organic. Okay, just to get ready, I'm going to make sure I'm going to clip those over there, because when we are ready to quench, we're ready to quench. I've got my butane torch. This is a micro torch, and we're just going to have the safety off, and we're going to light this guy and put it in the lock position so it stays on, and then I'm going to adjust my flame.
We always want to make sure that people are working in a well-ventilated area and wearing safety glasses.
First, exactly. Okay, so here we go. We're ready.
Okay.
Have my pick, and I can just move this really well, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to go around the whole piece just to warm it up. What the stages are that it's going to get frosty. You can see it getting a little frosty, and at that point, you can see I've got my connection here, and I'm just at the ready here with my pick. What happens is that solder chip tends to just sort of dance around. Okay, now it's getting clear. what I want to do is that this is going to come like a moth to flame. I'm going to concentrate on that seam, and then I want to draw that through. Alrighty, and that one's going to give us, we have a little bit too much of a gap there, so let's move along to here. That was a good example of having not a perfect seam, so the gap didn't work.
So you need your edges to be closer together.
Right.
It's good for people to see that this is what happens when you're working at home.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to try to concentrate on that spot. Oh, and here is it. I'm going to pull off a little bit because our solder chip danced all the way over there. Get it going again. All right.
There it goes.
This one's got potential, Katie.
There it goes.
And we're going to get a little, there it just went. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is take our time. Sometimes I'm going to go too fast. There's no going back. We're going to quench this. And some people say that we can quench this one anyway, even though it's not a good one. That we shouldn't quench steel in water. But it's really okay for scrappy soldering.
Okay.
Okay, so what I wanted to do too is tell you that also, a lot of times if you're working in a lot of different metals, this is a citric acid pickle. I'm gonna take these right out of here. We can't put these right into the pickle, but
Open this for you? Okay.
Thank you, Vanna.
Sure.
And we're gonna put them right into there. Okay, very good. Just leave them in there for just a second. What I was going to say is that generally it's a no-no to use steel tongs with it, but we have totally dedicated steel pickle pots.
So if you were using other metals, it could cause tarnishing.
Right. Actually, what happens is that the copper plates right onto all your other metals. So if you have a lovely sterling silver necklace,
It becomes copper plated.
yes, which is okay if that's what you want, but
Right.
probably not, right? Okay, so I have my little shop towel here, and because we don't have a whole lot of time, this won't look exactly beautiful, and we're going to pretend that we have two really good solders, right, Katie?
Yes,
Okay.
sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, and then this is what we do. We do have one really great solder there. But basically, you can see all this fire scale here. This would all be taken off with the pickle. We can see here that everything has actually worked. And then this is prepped already. So we're going to take this and then put both of these on. It just saves us a little bit of time. It's a little harder to work with since it's not going to be totally flat.
So it would take a little bit longer if you were doing it link by link. So this is a good time-saving tip.
It is, especially when you're working with even if you're not a production jeweler, when you're working with a lot of links, you really could get bored and not finish your necklace at all.
Right?
Right. Okay. So again, I'm just putting this with this this area of the join, a seam that I want to work on toward me, and I just kind of futz with this until I can kind of get it to be sort of even, okay? And then it's even down there. Should we do another one?
Yeah, I think let's see if solder that one.
Alrighty, sounds good. So I get my pick back out, right? And then I have my happy little handy flux here.
Okay, and it doesn't hurt the other pieces to get heated again, right? I mean, they're going to get a little bit of overshoot from your
That
torch there.
is, and I'm just gonna kind of glop up here a little bit.
Just to protect.
No, it's a good point, Katie, because if I was doing a lot of this on complex thing, we'd want to start with a hard solder first and then maybe go down to a medium. I'm using easy solder, and
For this
every
piece,
once
that
in a
works
while I'll
just
get
fine.
into trouble, but I'm good for this piece, exactly. Okay, let's see if we can be 2 for 3, right?
All right. Do you have your little piece of...
I don't have my little piece, my solder. It would help to have that, okay?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't fall into the fire brick, we'll be really and good. Okay, let's turn this off. Safety first. Okay. Thank you for reminding me that. It's a little hard to solder without that piece of solder right on there. And again, we're going to make it as a little lean-to. Come on. There it goes. Now position it on there. Put that guy up there. Let's start again. All right. Flame is pretty good here. And again, we're going to try to just concentrate on that one circular link. And it's going frosty, so we're going to get a little bit closer. And when it goes clear, I want to just really concentrate right on that seam. Okay, it's dancing around. It's in the right position. Get over there, guy. Okay. Making a little bit longer.
There it went, huh?
And there it went. Perfect.
All right, and then you quench and pickle this again, and you just continue this process to complete your necklace, right?
And what I like to do is make segments and then continue make the segments into a side and then make the two sides into a necklace.
All right, that's a great technique.
Great.